Welcome to Rubin on Point, a podcast about cancer, resilience, and being human. I'm Dr. Dan Rubin, and together we'll uncover the true power of resilience, the strength to recover, adapt, and thrive through life's toughest challenges. Each episode will bring bold ideas, transformative practices, and inspiring stories that redefine what health, healing, and what the human spirit can achieve. And you're going to meet some really cool people along the way. If you're ready to turn obstacles into opportunities and live with greater purpose and courage, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Your journey to resilience begins now. Welcome to the Rubin on Point podcast, a podcast where we talk quite a bit about cancer, we talk about resilience, and most of all, we talk about being human. I have the extreme pleasure today of being at a microgreens farm. It's called Urban Roots Farms in Scottsdale, Arizona, not too far from Naturopathic Specialist's office. Microgreens have really come on by storm because they are such a nutrient-dense plant that is the very earthy beginnings of what would then be a mature vegetable or fruit. Microgreens are those plants in some of their earliest forms, and when harvested at the right time, after the right growing conditions, have incredible health promoting benefits. So we're going to talk today about that. We're going to talk to the owners of the farm, the ones who developed this technology, and we're going to walk around and we're going to see what's growing. Ryan Kealy. Wow, it has been a pleasure to get to know you. And this, in large part, was your idea. I mean, this was your mental fortitude thinking about getting into the world of microgreens and functional mushrooms. How did that come about? Because you come out of the world of sports.
Yeah, I'm more on the application side as opposed to, being a doctor. I'm usually the patient or, along those lines. And so that's why, as I was in my profession, my active profession, which was development, we started to meet and own a lot of farms, which used tons of water. So the key always was these old grandfathered water rights that nobody knows about, but people that are in the know. And sometimes you have the ability through these doctrines from 1863 to pump as much water as you want. And so you start to look at it and understand that farming in general is great. But what we do is we farm inappropriate crops in areas that are arid and dry that should be growing other things.
Well, okay, wait, hang on. That's fascinating because you have a background in development. You're talking about land development.
Large scale, like thousands of master plan, big stuff.
And you sort of jumped into it quickly, but this is incredibly interesting. Okay. And you're talking about water rights from the 1800s and people being what we would consider now irresponsible with watering?
100%.
What does that look like out there? Because I'm not in that world and I don't know.
It's value, right? So you're looking at property. It's like any property in Texas. Most people won't sell the mining rights, right? Because they all think that now they might have natural gas or something, but they didn't know that back in the day. Mm-hmm. Now, Arizona actively is doing that with water. I mean, Colorado does it to a point where you have to pay. They have an open market for shares of water. You have to pay for it. We're not there yet, but starting to see this as a developer, you start to understand that farming can't continue the way it does, or we all suffer. And so farming's fantastic. Some of the best people in the world I've met are farmers. My family originally from Nebraska farming. I get it. But we have to figure out a better way. And so that's when we started kind of looking into growing in a different method, right?
Because this uses less resources to bring forth maybe even a superior product because of the conditions?
100%.
Yeah.
Especially in environments that you want to grow certain things that you're used to eating that shouldn't be grown here. So, I mean, this is the perfect environment to control everything and provide products freshly and untouched from the side of the growing part. We don't do any preservatives, no chemicals, it's how nature intended it. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of the whole program.
What are some of your favorite microgreens to indulge in?
My favorite micros are probably sunflower. It's probably my favorite. And then the arugula is really powerful. And then I think I was telling you earlier, the chives that we just started growing are phenomenal and go on absolute anything. But my kids, and I think Rob's kids and all of our children who have been forced into this program with us, right, actually love them. And so that's the cool part too.
Do they tell their friends about them?
They do. I've got some of my son's buddies who ask for them, which is insane.
Mr. Kealy, can you bring home those microgreens? I'll be over on Saturday.
Yeah, like the mom will call and be like, "What did you feed them?" Because they want it, and we're like, "It's microgreens." They're like, "Okay." So yeah.
And the parents are okay with it. And
parents
into it?
dig it. Yeah, they trust, as they should. It's a natural, amazing product. It really is.
Well, there's nothing like it.
Not that I've found.
Do you think that your children's health is better because you're growing these and bringing these home and putting them on the table, and now they're asking for it?
Will be long term for sure.
Okay, because
no doubt.
As they're growing, and they're athletes too.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
extremely active. Yeah.
You're an athlete, and as an athlete, you once an athlete, always an athlete. What's your background in athletics?
Baseball, basketball, football. Took football further than most of the others, and ended my career in college in football, and then, but most of my life was dedicated to sports. My dad played basketball at NAU. My sister played college basketball at Denver, and then coached in college basketball for a very long time. And so my dad and sister's love was always basketball together, and so I was kind of the loner with the football thing. But it was a family.
You're built more like a football player.
Yeah. I was better at baseball, is I think the joke.
Interesting.
But,
really?
But football was always more exciting to be a part of than baseball for me.
Have you been able to incorporate your athletic spirit with microgreens, whether it be in terms of recovery or some of the pro athletes you may know, or college athletes, or?
Always. It's the approach, because I'm usually on, like I said, the patient side. So I'm usually trying to solve problems, not solve people's problems. And so understanding what microgreens are, and then I've got a good friend that I played with who's doing a mushroom, the real good mushrooms that are applicable, not the crazy ones.
You mean more the medicinal, edible type, not necessarily psychedelic mushrooms.
100%. Are really having their kind of moment as well. And so you start to realize that Mother Earth provides everything you really need. A few tweaks, obviously, from science help along the way, but in generality, it's my view that the cleaner, the less we touch it, the less we do to it, the better it is for everybody. And so, micros for all my buddies, I push on them. I think athletes, when they're done training, are super tired, and a lot of times you don't even have the energy to eat, to be able to put a scoop or something, if we're able to freeze dry them or get them into the training table, which every team has when they eat. It's free. All the guys eat there. If we can get the nutritionist to buy into that and put it there, it's game over. And then I think, as you and Rob have talked about, if we were able to somehow preserve the microgreen and then present it in a fashion applicable that the people will accept, I think it could be a game changer for health and for wellness and everything. Yeah.
Do you see it helping with athletic recovery, your product?
I do. I think it helps. And that's through my education of kind of this whole business. There's not many things that it doesn't really help with.
Resilience.
Right. And I think some things, certain microgreens work better for certain ailments, right? And so it's a matter of, that's where I think the science really comes into it, and the beauty of having a great team together that has to come up with this product is there has to be a real sense and trust of the application of this and the need that it's being presented at, like for what's needed.
So there's a lot of people that are watching this that don't live in Arizona, or do and are not near Scottsdale, but mostly that live out of state, maybe out of the country. And in lieu of being able to obtain freeze-dried microgreens, and certainly your fresh product, what do you encourage people to do who are interested in consuming microgreens? It's really
it's a simple but tough game.
Okay.
And I think the reason why we're pushing so hard to get to the freeze-dried option is because most great microgreens are grown locally. And anytime you have a product, and I think the one weakness of microgreens is it's sensitive to the environment, right? Lack of heat, lack of temperature, too much temperature, lack of water, too much moisture, it can really affect the product. So if you're able to somehow preserve this and get it to a fashion that you're able to provide it and guarantee that it's got the nutritional content and it actually tastes really good, could have some interesting, I think, effects on everything.
So people might be looking up and seeing if there's a local
100%.
grower near them.
Now, if you have a person that you believe in, a company you believe in, you
Yeah.
can take their product on vacation, right? So
Yeah.
you can go, I've got micros with me, kids, and because a lot of times you can't find
Heck yeah.
the products you want,
Yeah.
right? And so that was a point that a lot of our customers have made is, listen, we love microgreens, we love the fresh and local idea. It's just tough when we're leaving in 4 days and we're gonna lose 3-4 days of freshness. When we come back, it's gonna be bad. And she's
Yeah.
like, if you guys could give us, something like this in a package that's super light and convenient, man. She's like,
I mean, the possibilities are amazing.
it's
I mean,
endless.
I remember I was recently on vacation with my family, and we went to it was an all-inclusive, and I was literally like, where's the nutritional value of this food? And I'm thinking, if I had powdered micros, I mean, just a little dab here, I mean, just could sprinkle it all over, I'd be in.
Right.
Just feels so much better.
I think moms are the big side of this. I think
Okay.
the nutrition side we can get. I think we can get the athletes, to people to buy in that'll help them in some way.
It's the moms.
It's the moms that I think you're hitting it right in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kids love chicken nuggets and French fries and things like that. But if you're able to get this little amount of nutrition into them, it just, I think, as a parent, makes you feel so much better that you're actually doing something positive, even though Jimmy won't eat anything green or purple, any different colors. And kids are finicky eaters. And so I think to have something like this that you could have in your purse or something when you're going between games, you're picking up fast food, you give them, a little burst of this in their water or lemonade, and then they eat the protein and fats that they need to give them the energy.
Thinking about this podcast, and one of the sponsors of this podcast is called Sun Story Supplements. Mm-hmm. And the foci of this podcast, as I talked about in the introduction, is about cancer. It's about resilience. It's about being human. And Sun Story is all about the sun and eating close to the sun and recognizing that the human experience is so encompassing of the sun because we simply can't live the way we need to in darkness. And then stories. And stories are so important. It's what got us to where we are. And we're slowly starting to lose the stories of humanity, or they're becoming disrupted. I look at microgreens and I see it's all encompassing of those 5 things. Number one, we need this nutritional sustenance to continue our humanity. It's what we're built from. And as we're becoming more technologically advanced, a more hurried society, there's nothing like eating these fresh microgreens, feeling them, eating them, tasting them, letting them go through the alimentary canal and letting the body interact with them.
It's special. Yeah.
That's part of being human. In
But-
terms of people with cancer, this is incredible nutrition that they need, because so often people in treatment, we have to withhold or severely limit the amount of raw cold food that they consume because it's very difficult for them to digest. Not microgreens. Number one, they don't need to be cold. They do need to be raw. Obviously not in the powdered or freeze-dried
Right,
sense, but
right.
as a functional food that harnesses photonic energy, is in a very high expression of a plant that is, and you harvest it before it is to be something more mature, which changes its nutritional content.
100%.
That is so important for people with cancer. And then the resiliency aspect. Without this type of nutrition, without fiber running through us, without the photonic energy, without the intentionalism with which these are grown and the hydration aspects of the fiber, you wouldn't have as much resilience. And then the sun, and there's such a great story behind this. You and Rob coming together, after having been athletes and in physical therapy, and coming together and growing this from a food as medicine perspective.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated.
It's beautiful, and I think that's why we're so excited to be with you on this podcast now, because I think there's a lot of synergies to our views on life and perhaps what we could do to change people's, not only the way they look at life, but live life and enjoy their life. Because I think microgreens can be a game changer mentally as well. And so people always think of just physical ailments, but very rarely do they talk about the mental ailments that come along with the physical ailments.
How does this intersect with sort of mental, emotional, spiritual health?
I think it's hugely. We've had conversations. I think once you get it down to, this is true nature, and we're not trying to find it. What we're trying to find is its best balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about different frequencies you can play to encourage plants to be healthier. I think there are a myriad of things that people, like you're saying, these are old stories, right? These are old things that people have forgotten along the way that are super important for humanity's existence. And so for us to get back to kind of a primal sense, but with a new twist on it, it's not just primal. This is really the new way to do primal, I think, is be intelligent, but be wise, not just, like really look back. Because wisdom, I think, is what makes the difference between everything. And this is a product that I think for thousands of years people have known about, and it's been easy to grow. But to your point, it gets out of in vogue because of a myriad of different social problems we have. There's not enough time for that. But this is a great way to get back to it, and a great way, I think, to really start and introduce a product that is truly flavorful, amazing to eat when you actually eat it. But I think a lot of people are intimidated by the product too. They don't understand it. They see it on very high-end restaurant menus and things. And so I think a lot of moms and dads don't know what to do with it when they get it home, other than shove a ton in their mouth and feel like, okay, I really was healthy. I think you capture a huge amount of people that ultimately would be more comfortable with a container of it that has all that nutritional value and content within there, and they've got 20 years to figure out how to use that.
Yeah, because you're saying that people are used to seeing it as a fancy garnish, not as an actual functional food. And you're talking about, hey, take it out of the clamshell, put it in a bowl, and there's your salad.
There it is.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't a garnish, or this should be a staple in your diet, but it's so different, and it's a little expensive on that end too, to where I think people look at it and go, okay, what am I actually paying for this? That's why I think the real intersection of where this product and this type of company really hits it is, it's got to be approachable by the public. It's got to be something that isn't just approachable by people that have the budget for it. We have to figure out a way to get this into the people and communities that need it most, as well as the ones that can afford it, right? And so I think the government support side of this, and why we'll be getting deeper into this as we all kind of have hopefully a couple of these podcasts, but I think there's multiple levels to where this type of product ultimately can take us not only in our personal endeavors of what we're trying to improve or better, but I think as a total approach, it could, you start a trend, a wave. This could be, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, I don't believe. But I think by the time mine's about up and my kids are rocking and rolling, they're going to have a really good shot at living some amazingly healthy and long lives. And it's just through food, right? Food and all of, in essence, is this part of biohacking? I 100% think this is where biohacking probably, it's literally, I think, the meaning of biohacking, right?
Yeah. What does biohacking mean to you?
It means adjusting what kind of God has given you, that you've also adjusted yourself through your lifestyle a little bit, through your health and wellness and things like that. I think this is a way to take not only you back to what you're intended to be, but to give you some advantage in some other physical areas as well. Like, I really think we haven't tapped into the strength of the body and mind until you really have a healthy body.
Biohack your food with Urban Roots Farms.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right.
How do people get it? Can they come to the farm and pick up a supply?
They can, and that's been the issue too. A lot of the business we do, in our initial intention, was to really service the local community. But it needs to be convenient too, right? And so what I've found through the experience that we've, I think, had in this company, and we have a lot of talks about it, me and Rob, the easier and more profitable way to run this company is via distribution companies, right? That have all the contracts with the restaurants and things like that. The problem we have with the families, and my wife has the problem, I'm an example of it in my family. It's so convenient for us, but when I forget, it's not there, so she's picking up a different salad from another place. And so it's something that people, I think, if they had convenient ways to get it and have it consistently, would eat it all the time, but I think it's such a loner item that people tend to just kind of, shoot, I missed it this week. I'll get it next. One of those. But if they had the option, and we're going to have one soon of delivery or a product style that can last for a while, that they can, I think.
Okay, so that's upcoming.
Yeah.
Well, how do people find you?
They find us by, you look up Urban Roots Farms, or Microgreens in Arizona, and we'll be on there. We're located in kind of a area that we designated because of the amount of cancer facilities and patients around here. So, yeah, I think this area needs it, and that's what we're not getting. That's the side of Urban Roots that I really want to see improve, is the ability to provide these microgreens conveniently to the community around us. And that's, I think, what we all got into this for.
Well, I know we have a sign in our clinic with a QR code, and I'm looking forward to the time when they're as easily accessible as they can be for our patients, and because it plays a role in that whole continuum that we talked about. So
it does.
It's awesome.
Awesome. No, I'm excited about the future of not only microgreens, but what we can figure out together as a product to bring to this market and world. Could be immensely cool.
Your heart's in it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My heart, yeah, for sure. Yeah. My mind is wrapped around it right now. So.
So I actually have the pleasure of being with one of the owners and founders and a colleague, the great Rob Blackaby.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, so excited to be here and to be able to tour the farm and see kind of the behind the scenes stuff and dig into what you're doing here from a food as medicine perspective.
Yeah.
That really is one of your big engagements, correct?
Absolutely.
How did you get into the food as medicine realm? What's your background here in healthcare?
Yeah, so I've been in healthcare for 30 years now, practicing physical therapist, athletic trainer, treated lots of people around the state, nation, world.
Like mostly athletes?
Athletes and general population.
Okay.
Yeah, but quite a few athletes from traditional sports to your action sports, which is more my forte. So I've really had an enjoyable experience doing that, and still presently do that somewhat on the side. But my main focus now is to grow this company by sharing microgreens and edible flowers. I think for me, I've always been purpose-driven in everything I do. And as a practicing PT and athletic trainer, purpose is to help people. And you're usually helping one person at a time. So when Ryan and I founded this company, we made sure that that was going to be one major division, is to really help people through the power of microgreens. Not only can you help one, but you can help the masses. So that's a big goal of ours.
So why is it so important to grow this company then?
Well, you're going to be able to get it to expose it to many, many people, right?
Microgreens and edible flowers.
Absolutely. So we started off very small, and we continue to build, and we're able to service that many more people.
What is the market that you look at? Is it people who are, like in my world, that are undergoing treatment for cancer? Is it athletes who want to improve performance? Is it kids' health improvement, maybe in school lunches? Like where's your focus or your foci?
Yeah, all of it really. Besides, we do have distribution companies that serve the restaurants, resorts, things like that. But for me, the heart is at helping people. And so that could be kids. We're fortunate enough to team up with 4 school districts in the state of Arizona, Washington, Creighton, Scottsdale, and Tucson. And we've collaborated with them to really provide a lot more microgreens to these kids, mainly as an introduction, but the nutritionists at these schools are so behind it that they're making it creative in ways that kids are going to eat it, because you're going to look at a microgreen like, what is this? How do I eat it? And they're able to find these ways that are going to hopefully plant that seed for kids
no pun intended.
Exactly, to have that mindset of eating more nutritious foods as they grow up.
Okay, so hang on a sec. There's nutritionists in the public school systems or at specific schools? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so all the districts have a main nutrition kind of division, and it might be one or two registered dietitians, and then they have the other people within the food services industry at each district that may do the menu planning, ordering, all of that. And really, I just cold called people, just in cold emailed them, and just kept going. And all of a sudden, I started getting more contacts, responding to me, and it's been great and really rewarding, and something I'm thinking about right now with Tucson. We send them weekly or monthly orders, and in the month of May, the kids are going to decide what kind of blend they want us to create for them.
Do they have like a focus group or a research group, or is it just they're voting by? Or you don't know necessarily.
I really don't know, but
you
it's
mean in
pretty
terms
darn
of
exciting.
which greens that they like the best, or edible flowers, and which are the tastiest, or go with the lunch, and then
We'll create a special Tucson Unified School District for those kids.
And what grades are these children?
From kindergarten up through high school.
That's incredible. So they're learning about this at this young age in real time, not just with a book, but they're actually tasting it and understanding this.
Exactly.
And they have a say in this.
Yep.
I mean, I can't imagine how excited the parents must be.
Yeah, you would only think, right? Yeah, it's
well,
fantastic.
traditionally, school lunches have just been really bereft of nutrition as far as the lunches I've seen at schools, my experience, and this is not to knock any of the systems, but to me it looks like a fact. And I'm sure there's certain RDA requirements that they need to hit, but with an active kid, those are minimal, those are old, some are outdated, some don't incorporate newer technology, like thinking about micronutrition. And maybe we're hitting just the main vitamins, right? But not necessarily the micro stuff, which Microgreens makes available to these kids in a yummy, easily digestible, and I think kind of fun to eat form.
Yeah, I think the schools, they definitely have the proper calorie counts, but maybe not as much nutrition as they could possibly, need. And so I know there is a movement to help promote more healthy living for these kids.
There has to be. I mean, there has to be.
And if we can kind of start with the grassroots movement on our own, with the backing of these nutritionists and the school districts especially, then it's like, hey, let's do our part. And I think
what a great idea. Hit the schools, educate people, and you help tons of people.
It's super fun,
too. Why microgreens? Why not a different type of indoor gardening? Why these microgreens specifically?
Yeah, it's a good question. Ryan and I initially were on the mindset of functional mushrooms, which I kind of consider as the sister to microgreens and high nutrition content as well. But when we discovered that microgreens can be planted on day 0 and harvested on day 10 to 14 with maximum nutrition, we're thinking, oh my gosh, we can really grow an awful lot of microgreens to really help people monthly.
Do you eat them yourself?
I do, yeah. So my favorite is the Mighty Greens Medley, which is just a mix of a bunch of different ones. And I typically just add olive oil, vinegar, and some almonds, and a little seasoning salt from our friend over at Magic Salt. And we apply that, and it's fantastic.
When I come here and get microgreens from your farm, I can eat a lot of them, and they digest easily. They taste good. They feel good going down. I love the different colors. It just radiates photons, sunshine, if you will. I'd like to get back to your background and talk about that a little bit, because I think it's important. You said you're involved quite a bit in the action sports industry, so I'd like to hear a little bit about that. And if you could, you deal mostly with functional biomechanics of athletes. And we've worked together in the world of oncology, and I know we talk about fluidic movement and how important that is. And I'd love to hear your background and what you do with the athletes and some of the specialties that you have and some of the teams that you work with.
Oh, sure.
And then how it relates to microgreens in the sense that it's a functional food, because I see them blending together.
Absolutely. Quickly on the background, I grew up skateboarding. My brother introduced me to skateboarding and punk rock back in the 80s, which I absolutely loved, and I still do. But my initial goal was to become a pro skateboarder. And after I realized that, that's going to be really difficult, I was good, but not good enough, I decided, hey, why don't I pioneer sports medicine in skateboarding so I can still be around it and help these folks. And 30 something years later, I'm still around it. And I've seen an awful lot. When I started in that realm, in that world, working it, it's definitely more raw at that point.
Okay.
Now it's a little bit more, people care a little bit more about their bodies, these skateboarders, snowboarders, because there's more money in it too. So
what do you mean? More money in their bodies?
well, there's more money in the business, so, a lot of skaters love it for skateboarding. Actually, probably all of them do. And others take it to a different direction and say, hey, I want to maybe compete. Some of those folks I see, pay a little bit more attention to what they eat. And the old saying, you are what you eat, is pretty darn true in a lot of ways. And so microgreens are going to help with fueling their bodies with energy. It's going to help their bodies recover, their muscle soreness, their achy joints, pains, sleep, all these sorts of things. So, to get them to introduce and to eat microgreens is only going to be helpful.
This has been a labor of love.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago did you leave physical therapy to get into microgreens?
It's been about 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Yeah, I still do a little bit on the side, but this is definitely the focus.
So your products, your and Ryan's products, have to be obviously delivered fresh. So that presents a challenge, I would assume, in terms of being able, not everybody can enjoy them. You have to be relatively in the area or in a shipping distance.
Yeah.
So you can't mail these.
No, you can't.
No. Could you mail them on ice, or is that just...
You can, and some do, but again, that's not as sustainable as well. And by the time the consumers get them, they're not going to be as fresh, which then is going to lower not only how many days you can eat them, but the nutritional value is going to peak, and it's going to start to dip too.
So have you talked about any solutions to that for people at a distance who want to enjoy your products?
Yeah, we've been brainstorming on this a lot. In fact, it's been on my mind for about a year at least, is to get a freeze dryer. And
right.
Yeah, because, as you stated, microgreens, you've got to eat them within, 7 to 10 days. And there's a lot of distressed communities that really don't have access to fresh fruits and veggies. And you need a refrigerated van to go up to Winslow or somewhere far and so the feasibility is a little bit more difficult.
Well, it takes a lot of time. It increases the cost, carbon footprint.
Yeah, all of it. So if you freeze dry your microgreens, I've understood that you only reduce the nutritional content by 5 to 10%. Now you have them freeze dried, and they can last up to, some say, 25 years. Don't quote me fully on that,
Sure,
but that's what I've
but
read.
That's what, yeah.
And then we can ship it out, and people can store it as well. So there's so many applications. And even though there's not a lot of caloric density, but the nutrition is so high, and they're low glycemic. So you can really target the populations of the diabetic, the cancer patient, or the patient that has cancer maybe can't eat an awful lot, but if they can absorb it maybe in their upper zones, they're going to get a little bit better absorption down below.
Not their upper airways, which just
upper zones.
Yeah, upper zones, yes.
Esophagus.
So then it's a low glycemic, high nutrition throughput food.
Yes.
That is keto.
Yep.
Does it qualify for that?
Yeah.
It's lower calorie, so it's basically just eating just nutrients.
Yeah, and there's some fiber too.
Yeah.
So,
will there still be fiber in the freeze-dried product?
Yes, and what we're hoping to do is to have that tested.
Okay.
Hopefully, I'll bring this to your attention. We'd love to get involved with that, where we can get this tested out, make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be in terms of the nutritional level, and then we can know for certain what we're giving people is still the fresh micro.
Then you can sell with certainty.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That gives people confidence, and then I'm sure you'll be transparent and publish your results and make them.
Yep.
And we have talked about, over the months, hormetic stress, for instance, because I know that you do, I think I know, that you subject some of the microgreens in a good way to stressors, whether it be wind or whether it be trying to improve their nutrient content or their growability with different temperatures.
Yes.
How's that going? Because that's fascinating to me.
It is, and it's kind of a moving target. It's a little bit like nature.
Yeah.
We basically try to keep our temperatures within a certain zone, humidity within a certain zone, give them the right amount of water, not too little, not too much, but it may get really humid outside, and then you're going to have to make sure that you check it in here too. This is a building with different rooms, so they all have their different temperature or temperaments, I guess you could say. So luckily we have a great grow team that keeps an eye on things and tries to keep everything, in optimal conditions.
Yeah, tell us about your team. Who's all on the team?
So we have 3 great members, Larry Cannon and Justin, and we do the planting, the harvesting, the packaging, labeling, and then they get that ready for shipment, either pickup or delivery.
Can we visit the farm?
We'd love to have you take a tour. Come along.
All right. And that's a wrap, because this is some pretty good stuff. See you next time on Rubin on Point.
All right. So I'm going to take you into the germination room. So after they lay the seed on the grow medium, they bring the trays in here. So I turn on this little light, but this is the place where they feel like they're underground. So this is where they'll start to press up and grow tall. The light's usually off, but these are all just a few days old. And we have a full variety, and then here we have the golden pea shoots here behind you. And so because they're never in light, they'll never turn that green. So the photosynthesis won't kick in, the color remains the same. So this is all very controlled. So then after they're done in here, they'll come into this room. And they'll come under the lights. So we have a few different varieties. Some are a little bit young, some are a little bit older, but you can see here, these are like some younger cilantro that are starting to come up. Cilantro is more like a longer crop, about 21 days or so. And then we have some sunflower. You can see here the sunflower seeds or the shells right here. What do you think this is?
And, I was going to say kale, but that looks nothing like kale.
Taste that.
No. Wait. It tastes like cantaloupe.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can have
That's amazing.
micro cantaloupe.
That is amazing.
Yes, and it's very surprising when it hits the palate.
I mean,
it's
there's
there.
some not surprising, there's some wonderful nutrients in cantaloupe. And so they're more highly concentrated inside this pre-cantaloupe.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the...
Most of the microgreens, a lot of the research shows that they can contain up to 40 times more nutritional value than their mature counterpart. So very small. By the time you harvest them, they are just chock full of nutrients.
What are these?
This is cilantro. So these are still, in their growing phase. They still have another week or so. But they're a little bit more on the spicy side, very concentrated flavor. But do you like cilantro?
Not
half
really.
Half the population does. So you don't, so you should try it then.
Okay. I like that.
Well, all right.
I really like that.
Yeah, so we sell
that
this
tastes-
straight, but we also put it in
Tastes
blends.
fresh and healthy. It really does taste and makes me feel like zesty.
Yes, very fresh, very, very healthy.
So what happens? These get to a point of what you would consider microgreen maturity, and then what do you do with them?
So
You have a
we'll bring these
processing-
basically over here
Okay.
to the harvesting area, and that's where our team harvests them, and then they'll weigh.
Just like with a knife?
Yeah,
or-
very sharp knife.
Okay.
Put them in a giant bowl, weigh it out, and then separate it out into clamshells typically,
Okay.
and that can range.
And it
from-
goes through like a washing process?
You don't need to wash it,
Okay.
and because we don't add any additives, you just want to keep it cold.
Okay.
But you can wash it if you really want to. You just really want to spin it down because they don't like being wet.
Because then they get soggy?
Yeah, they'll get soggy. You'll have
So
to
this
eat
is the
them.
main production area.
Yeah, and we also have an area back there where we do a lot of the seeding as well. We also have our another planting area, and we keep our tray washer out there too.
Can we take a look?
Yeah, sure. That's right. So as you can see, plenty of stacks of trays that need to be cleaned. My father-in-law does a heck of a job. We just use so many of them all the time. These guys are babies, so they're all stacked, and they will actually lift this brick. Yeah. And then here, this we move typically, but this is our industrial tray washer and sanitizer. And then we have our soil medium over here that's covered right now, but we use that for all of our trays.
It's a farm.
It's a farm, full on.
Urban Roots Farm.
Feels good.
Well rooted.
Thank you for joining us on Rubin on Point, a podcast about cancer, resilience, and most of all, about being human. I hope today's conversation inspired you to see new possibilities for growth, healing, and strength in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little extra resilience in their day. Remember, no matter what challenges you're facing, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about building a life of purpose, connection, and vitality. Until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and take care of yourself and those around you.